Welcome to our podcast for E+ and Cisco. My name is Wanda Castelvecchi. I am the National Practice Manager for Cisco Security and Enterprise Networking for E+. I am thrilled to be joined today by Conrad Clark, who is a security consulting engineer from Cisco. And today we're going to talk about probably one of the hottest topics, Conrad, right? All about keeping our remote workers secure. So this year has really put our customers and their security teams to a test as organizations have really scrambled to transition to a fully remote workforce as a result of the pandemic. And our customers really initially were forced to put in place whatever they could do just to get users up and working and just to make them available. Absolutely. What were some of the biggest challenges, Conrad, that you guys saw our customers facing with employees working remotely?
Actually, a couple of challenges. Most notably, obviously, why we're here is security. But initially, it was the nearly immediate shutdown order, send everybody home, and it was figuring out how what are we going to have these folks work on, because many of our customers, especially our the small to medium-sized businesses, were all traditional desktop PC based. So initially we saw customers really struggling with how am I going to what am I going to have these employees work on, then how am I going to get it to connect to the assets, the systems that they need to work with, to continue to move the business forward. And then once those two were ironed out, then it really did become okay, I'm operational again. I'm maintaining, my business is now operational and whatnot, but am I secure? And so, when we at Cisco, between our internet working business, our VPN client, AnyConnect that many of your customers are aware of, that solves the first two challenges of getting the remote workforce connected to the network, to the core office systems that they were used to connecting to. And then from there, it's that does provide a little bit of security, but still you do need to, you do need to take additional levels up to making sure who's actually logging in, and that your the credentials that your workforce have been using have not been compromised. So those were the main challenges that we saw early on. Now the challenges that we're seeing now 6 months into this are really around organizations struggling to operationalize security. So whether that is deploying all of the products that we recommend, that we use in our secure remote worker environment, which is Duo for authentication, the AnyConnect VPN for that network bridge, but then there's also the tools and technologies that are needed to secure both that end asset as well as the communications that those assets are using, whether that's into the customer network or off the customer network into the internet. And obviously, one of the biggest things now that we've seen is the use of cloud-based solutions. So also at this time, many of those businesses decided to go to Office 365 and the cloud-based solution. So in this same time frame, we've also launched a new technology of cloud mailbox defense. So all of those together are now being utilized to create a secured remote worker. Those are also technologies that are integral to other operational desires like zero trust, and they can be very complicated. So our customers are now looking at ways to optimize those environments, or outright transition the operation of those environments to to engineers and to entities that are more that essentially are better at doing it, because it is so new to so many businesses.
We have definitely seen an uptick in our customers who are making the transition to cloud and cloud applications, even those that weren't traditionally there. And I think the transformation that our customers have had to go through is crazy. The the old model of really centralizing all of security doesn't necessarily work for the world that we have today. And we need a way to get visibility inside of what's going on. So we are certainly hearing and expecting that most organizations will need to support remote workers for the foreseeable future. And in some cases, employees will permanently work at home or choose to work at home part of the time and in the office part of the time, depending on their situation. So Conrad, based on that, do different types of users have different security needs?
Absolutely. And Chuck Robbins, the CEO for Cisco, has mentioned that many times, both internal to the Cisco organization and to the Sunday talk shows and tech shows and whatnot, is that one of the downstream outcomes of this pandemic and of the instantaneous and emergency throwing everybody to a remote status, it has really put the focus on what types of roles can be remote, what roles do you need to have inside a business or things like that. And really what we're seeing is that there are certain jobs that have to be done on site by the nature of it, and we usually are seeing those in manufacturing and healthcare, where you've got IoT devices, the assembly line must continue. Okay,
Right.
So that, people have to be there. The machines are going to need to run there. Logistical support for those operations will still need to be there, but does it need to have the same physical capacity? Do all my logistics specialists need to be in the warehouse? And the answer is no. From an HR standpoint, from a sales, marketing standpoint, those, we're seeing that those jobs can be completely remote. Obviously, anything related to, software development or software administration and whatnot can obviously be done remotely. So it is going to, this is, has changed and will continue to change the evolution of remote working. And one of the things that I think that we're also going, that I'm going to see, or that we are going to see, is that as organizations ramp up and expand their businesses, if they've been able to survive working remotely or with a majority of a remote workforce, then it's clicking in executives' minds like, well, wait a minute, I don't have to limit my talent pool just to where I happen to have an office. I can open this up, and through teleworking and being able to now that we've proved that we can secure remote workers, wait a minute, I can post a job posting and have it be 100% remote, or 75% remote, 25% travel, and that resource can be anywhere in the United States. It could be anywhere in the globe. There are 27 members of my specific managed security services team within Cisco, and half of us are in the US, the other half are global. And so, Cisco does it all the time with the technology that, Cisco has pioneered, and with other remote possibilities, Zoom and things like that. It actually would be fairly easy for companies to transition, changing the operating model from local environments to a global operating environment where everyone is remote, and you bring people physically together as you need to, not as a regular everyday requirement.
I think those are positive things that can come out of what we're dealing with. I know I'm spending a lot less time on airplanes these days, and I'm not going to complain about that at all. Go ahead.
The thing that I love working securely, and I love working remotely. The thing that I really miss for some reason, I guess it's just the engineer in me, I miss being in a conference room and being able to whiteboard something rather than use PowerPoint. That's the only thing I miss. I don't miss the airports. I don't miss the taxi cabs. I don't miss the rental cars. But drawing on a whiteboard for a customer to help them architect a situation or a solution is something that I do miss.
We miss, you don't miss conferences and bad coffee?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
I will.
Judy, no, don't miss that at all.
I will tell you, we have had to evolve that. I mean, plus we've actually, outfitted some of our engineers with these great whiteboarding tools, the same that Disney animators use, so that we actually can continue that whiteboarding. Because a lot of the stuff that you just talked about, you know, because customers either are working at home because offices have been downsized, we've got to really look at and assess where they are. What is the connectivity that you still need? How secure is it? You know, what are our users doing at home? Are they using their, you know, a lot of cases when the pandemic started, customers had employees using their own devices because you couldn't get anything. I mean, I was sheltering in somewhere that was not at home, and it took a lot of money for me to be able to get a new video camera. So a lot of times that stuff just wasn't available early on. So it's definitely been an evolution and transition. So I have one more question for you before we wrap up today. So Conrad, when the pandemic started, we were constantly searching the news feeds to understand what was going on so that we could help our customers. And I was able to get a lot of my initial news from Talos, and Talos organization pretty quickly identified categories of attacks that were leveraging COVID that really took advantage of the fear and uncertainty that we were all facing. For those of you that aren't aware, Talos is one of the largest threat intelligence organizations in the world. They have a group of engineers and threat researchers that provide cutting-edge research across the globe. If you think about Talos, I think about Cisco's ecosystem. I think about the World Wide Web. I think about the internet and the amount of Cisco equipment is out there, from firewalls to routers and wireless access points, and all the telemetry that is available to the Talos team that really benefits the consumers of Cisco security products. Now, I consider this to be one of the biggest benefits of choosing Cisco for your security needs. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other benefits?
That's a simple question. Very simply, it is the size and scope of the Talos research element, you know, our research group. As you said, it is the largest non-governmentally funded cybersecurity threat research group in the world. You know, I haven't seen the latest number, but it's significant. I mean, it's larger than most other security, you know, service or software companies. I mean, it's that significant. But the data, you know, all of our customers that purchase Cisco equipment have the opportunity to opt in to share metadata with the Talos Research Group, okay? And what that has created is statistically the largest database of, you know, cyber threats or cybersecurity information anywhere in the world. And so we're constantly filtering through that and pushing it directly into the products as update streams. So all of the, you know, the products that we've been talking about, you know, the Umbrella, the AMP, Duo, you know, all of these products take in that information or consume that information in order to make those products individually stronger, okay? So what we see happening to one customer in, say, Singapore, okay, that information is broken down, it's analyzed, and then it's fed back into the products, and it makes it basically, you know, with blocking lists and for the various products and whatnot, it actually goes to prevent that same attack that a customer just saw in Singapore from happening to a customer in London or to a customer in Las Vegas. So that ability to capture cyber activity, determine whether or not it's a threat, determine, you know, what the tactics, the techniques, the procedures were that were used on that attack, and then being able to prevent those through the, prevent them, you know, potentially from happening, but also to be able to detect them in those products and alert correctly that, hey, this is a known attack. We have seen this before. This is exactly what this is very significant. You know, I mean, there are a lot of best of breed, I mean, of individually awesome security products out there. And for those customers that have the budget and the personnel to really deploy those and, you know, to operate those and maximize them, that's great. But Talos brings a value to our products that in nature, they are, you know, they're self-healing, they are self-learning, because we're constantly pumping that data back into them. So it's not just a a static security tool that you have, that you have to do a lot in care and feeding of. They become, your not just a perimeter defense, but they become layers that are active and are alive, and we are constantly updating the cyber threat information. And that's a completely separate data stream, or a completely separate improvement cycle to an individual product, that's separate from the actual business, our actual product units that are developing new functions and features to detect even more things. And a lot of that functionality is driven by our Talos team in indicating, hey, this is a reoccurring threat. Here are the key elements for this. You can take, and our product engineers take and go, hey, that's great. And then they build or modify existing features in a product to be able to detect that now. So it's that continuous improvement loop that, as an organization, Cisco is unmatched. But when you look at it product by product, as an example, and for Endpoint and its next closest competitor of CrowdStrike. Okay, great tool. They've got great engineers and whatnot. But the amount of security data that they are working with to improve their product is, it's not a word I don't use often, but is infinitesimal compared to the billions and billions of metadata elements that we're getting on a daily basis from all of the Cisco community. So the entire community that is that's operating this hardware and software is helping everybody out. We're all helping each other, and that is, to me, is a valuable difference between using an individual point solution that has a couple of cool features that solve a problem. But when you look at value and total security and an ecosystem that works together, that's the main value for Cisco, and driving that value is Talos every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely one of the biggest benefits that I see, and I think it's one that we don't talk about enough. So the last thing I'm going to ask you about is when we opened, you were talking about the different types of solutions that really were needed to secure the remote worker, from multi-factor authentication to DNS protection to VPN. One really interesting announcement out of Cisco in the past year or so is SecureX. Can you talk a little bit about the value that is really there? I know we've had customers, for years saying, when can we get to a single dashboard? When can we, do things in a more automated fashion? So I'd love for you to talk about that, since we know that our customers are going to be required to implement a few different tools. So helping them understand maybe how they work together would be great.
Yeah. Well, so SecureX is a platform of technology. It's essentially a tool. I would actually kind of make it analogous to a tool belt, okay? Because it has a lot of different small features, and it's essentially the next generation of Cisco Threat Response, or CTR, which was a tool that we created to visualize basically an incident or an event, and in all aspects. And now fast forward to the SecureX platform development, where we have taken the best of CTR and built on it. So now the SecureX platform does have the capability of taking in information from third-party software, third-party hardware, from the entire, I can't think of a single Cisco element that doesn't feed directly into SecureX without having to do any kind of data translation. But then, in addition to those, those capabilities of pulling together, we've added orchestration automation to essentially automate functions. So what the outcome of SecureX is an automated action that any experienced security engineer with knowledge of the technologies that we're pulling the information from would be able to go and do. It just visualizes it in a way that is meaningful to the customer, that also allows the customer to automate things that they do all the time, and basically create a predefined sequence of events that happen in reaction to a particular trigger event. Okay, which is something that our customer base has really been looking for. A way to bring information together so that you can act on it, a way to bring devices and software together so that there is cohesion across the entire landscape, so that the environment is, the environment that you're operating is essentially a single environment versus multiple consoles here and there and whatnot. I mean, those consoles still do exist, but the SecureX platform is a way to visualize that, and then a way to automate outcomes so that so essentially you can do more with less. That's overused, but it is, really the value of the platform is to being able to take engineers that you already have on staff, provide them with a technical platform to, in short order, integrate things together and be able to access and take response actions or take actions from a single location versus having to go to multiple consoles and things like that.
I don't think there's an organization out there that is not looking for a way to simplify their security strategy, but still be really effective. So I think that's great.
Absolutely.
Well, Conrad, that's my last question. Do you have anything else you want to make sure we cover today?
Well, anybody who's listening to the podcast, the technologies that we've talked about today are available. E+ has a full stable of engineers and subject matter experts on these, and depending on the outcome that you need, multiple of these technologies can easily be put together to provide a secure remote working solution. You can and how you do that can also create a zero trust environment. It also, so the sky's the limit on what you can do. But between E+ and Cisco, we also provide services to, for organizations that want to provide this, but don't have the manpower. So there are managed services that can deliver that exact same outcome with, less risk to you, the customer, with, a more robust response capabilities and things like that, because, we have people, we have talent, and we can support your operations 24/7.
Well, Conrad, I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today. And for those of you that are interested in any of the solutions that we talked about today, we've got the ability to share more information with you or even provide demos. If you'd like to reach me directly, you can do that at ciscosecurity@eplus.com. Conrad, thank you again. It was a pleasure being here with you today, and we appreciate seeing all of you. Have a great day.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.